Well, this is such a pleasure to meet you. You're a man of little words.
Hey everyone, my name is Steve Glinski. I am the creative director at EM1 Advertising. We were the ones that came up with and subsequently produced it's actually called not so Pee-wee football, but we'll call it Pee-wee for short. This is Mallory.
Mallory Woodrow. I lead social and CRM from a Buick perspective, so I actually work at General Motors.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're just going to kind of take you through some things you may know about how the commercial was created and some things you might not know. It's just a quick synopsis of how things went down, how we created it from concept all the way to actually running it on air. So, first one. So it started when we were told what every creative dreams of. The client wants to do a Super Bowl commercial. Awesome! We're going to be on the biggest, most expensive, most visible stage in advertising. Oh shit, we're going to be on the biggest, most visible stage in advertising. So every project comes up with a brief. You know, the whole point of Buick is we have a campaign. We want to come up with a way to kind of Super Bowl that campaign. So we wanted to create a Super Bowl-worthy commercial that stays within our current Buick campaign. Now, who of you has a TV? Okay, you've probably seen a Buick commercial, I would imagine, right? In case you haven't, I'm going to play this one. This is kind of the one that started kind of the Buick Renaissance. It basically talks about how people don't see Buicks when they're standing right in front of them. It kind of tells you we're not how we used to be. And if I could just figure out how this works, that would be good. How does it just... Oh, there it goes.
Again. I thought you brought a Buick. I'm outside. Where are you? I'm here. I'm a Buick. I don't see a Buick. Well, you look like a Buick.
Take a fresh look at Buick. It just might surprise you.
That's not a Buick. That's what I told them.
This is nice.
Oh, my.
5 expectation-shattering models. For Buick, your kind of luxury.
Okay, so very strategically sound, entertaining. Is it Super Bowl worthy? No, it lacks that punch. It lacks that memorability that a Super Bowl commercial. But nonetheless, it performed extremely well just on everyday things. It really got people to start noticing Buick. It got them to start rethinking Buick, and our momentum as a result of this commercial and ones that followed has kind of skyrocketed over the past, 2 or 3 years? So, and what's unusual about our story is momentum's usually one of those things that kind of does this and then it kind of falls off or plateaus. Buick's is kind of like just continues to rise a little bit. I think it's starting to plateau now, but really it's been unusual even in by any testing standards. This is an example. It's a much prettier version than what we would normally get as a creative brief, but it kind of tells you what when we briefed all the teams on the Super Bowl, we had about, I think it was 8 teams. When we briefed the teams, we said the overarching thought is Buick will surprise you. We want to explore 3 different pathways, and those pathways were you'll be surprised by the new vehicles from Buick, and it basically adopts the equities of that original spot that you guys just saw. You know, these vehicles are surprising. You'll be surprised by who drives a Buick. That could be as simple as showing people that you would never imagine are in a Buick. And then the last one is, it's surprising how youthful the new Buicks are. There's a common kind of perception that Buick is for old people. And this kind of takes that Buick is for old people and puts a little bit of a positive spin. Owners don't like to think of themselves as old, so to just say, you know, Buick is for old people, we're actually kind of alienating some people by just going and flat out saying it. The desired outcome in all this is we want to portray unexpected delight, which basically we want to have a little bit of that moment at the end where people are like, wow, this is a cool car. And that you saw in that original spot. We showed a lot of different concepts. You know, it's a Super Bowl spot, you want to explore all options. We had babies. Because we love babies. We had animals. We had a bunch of spots with animals in them. We used celebrities. We even did zombies. That's kind of cool. Aliens. That's cool. And we also showed a couple of ideas that were a little more contextual to football. We had one that involved a referee and him throwing a red flag, basically. We quickly found out that we couldn't actually use NFL referees, but we could use retired ones. So Ed Hockley was out and another guy was in. And then we also had a commercial that basically centered around a little Pee Wee football game, kind of humanizing and inserting a celebrity football player into that football game. We looked at a lot of different quarterbacks. Cam wasn't our only choice. We looked at Brady, we looked at, I think, Aaron Rodgers. Some were just kind of, they had too much baggage. They didn't emulate the brand. In the end, I think Cam was the proper choice. He's huge, first of all, which really played nicely with the little kids. And he was very personal and had a great time doing the spot. Being contextual is something that had worked pretty well for Buick in the 2016 Super Bowl. That was our first year in the Super Bowl. It was a bit of a learning experience for Buick and the agency because it was kind of, you know, hey, that one was literally like, hey, you're in the Super Bowl. It's like, what? Huh? We had to take a spot and kind of retrofit it. I'm going to play that spot, and then I have a small story about that one.
She rebelled.
Totally undelled it.
She was our boss. I can't believe OBJ was at this wedding. I can't believe that convertible was a Buick. That convertible was a Buick? The all-new Cascada convertible. Yes, it's a Buick.
Okay, so that was our first foray into it was actually a really good spot. The funny thing about it was that spot started as a different spot, and we shot that on the set. The he Odell that she Odell that was inspired by my kids, who basically on the playground they would play football, pick up football, and they would come home and they'd be like, oh man, I was in the playground, so-and-so throw it to me, and I Odell'd it. And I'm just like, I'm going to tuck that one away and use that later, and it just really proves that an idea can come from anywhere. Your kids can say it. Hopefully you don't have kids right now, but you know, you can do, it's going to come from anywhere. It's not a pre-prescribed kind of thing. It's not you basically can't, you don't know where it's going to come from. So just kind of look everywhere, try to figure out be able to recognize a good idea, I guess would be my suggestion. After a number of client reviews and consumer focus groups, one spot rose to the top in this whole process. This is the original board. We were swapping out football players based on who we wanted to pursue, but this is kind of how we presented to the client. We had a script, which I won't take you through, but it kind of describes it. At the end, there was a different joke than what ended up being in the commercial, but this is how we present stuff. This is basically, it's this simple. It's all how you present it to the client and just bringing it to life, you know, that way. Now that we had an approved spot, we needed a director. Got to have somebody shoot it. We chose a guy by the name of Eric Joyner. He's through Tool, and basically he has done the majority of Buick commercials for us. He is the kind of the production vision behind a lot of the stuff that we've worked on, along with myself and my partner Tim Thomas, who can't be here. But he really brings a lot to the Buick party, basically. Now we started pre-production. We did casting. We did scouting. We did wardrobe. After everything was approved, we started shooting. I gotta make sure I get this right. And then here's the first day. We're shooting in LA, by the way. Okay, after the drought, we started shooting after the drought-ending rain passed. And this was no ordinary shoot. This is kind of a list of all the things that we had going on this shoot. We had a quarterback, we had a supermodel. We had 20 other principal actors and actresses, all of which had to be wardrobed and cast. We had 40, what we did is we chose actual football players, actual little peewee football players. We wanted them to be able to, properly be in the proper formations, do the same thing over and over, so that was kind of the gist. We also brought in their coaches. They could wrangle these kids. That was important to the shoot. We had 3 stunt women. The stunt at the end is actually stunt women. It's not little kids. You can't have little kids get pulled by a rope and into an end zone. So it's stunt women. They're very short. They're all gymnasts. We had over 150 crew and agency personnel. We had one set to shoot the actual commercial, and then we had a completely separate shoot to shoot social content. Social contents become extremely important on Super Bowl Sunday. How you react to things, what things you post, it's as important as the commercial. So we had a separate shoot dedicated to that. We had reporters from USA Today, we had a film crew from Entertainment Tonight, we had a crew from CBS, we had behind-the-scenes films crew, and a number of other things. And this is kind of what it was like. Oh, shit. There, I got... Actually, the shoot is what we like to call organized chaos. So this is kind of a little bit of behind the scenes. I'm just going to take you through some behind the scenes stuff. They're mostly stills. They just kind of give you a sense of what we were actually shooting on a very muddy field. This is a moment, you can see Cam right in the middle right there. And this is kind of when he first came out onto the set. All the kids flocked to him. He was awesome. He was so personable. He was really nice to them. He wasn't standoffish. When you get celebrities or quarterbacks, some of these guys are very standoffish. Some of them just want to do their own thing. They want to be in their trailer, and then they come out for their shoot and they go away. Cam was exactly the opposite. He was great. He got along with the kids phenomenally. They lit up when they saw him. He hung out with them the entire time. He didn't go back to his trailer. He didn't kind of go away. He just hung out with them, took lots of pictures. He got along great with the director. Super easy to work with. This is him kind of going over, the script notes with Miranda and Cam. And then that shot at the end of the spot where basically they're all kind of together and the coach turns into Miranda Kerr. We actually shot that on a green screen, which you wouldn't be able to tell because we kind of put it all, the stands in the background. But because we wanted to transform it, we didn't know which take. You really want the flexibility to just bring in that actor. It's pretty much weatherman technology, but done a little bit nicer when you're on a film set. This guy, the funny thing about the guy in the middle, he's their actual coach, and he was great. He ends up having a little starring role in the commercial, much to his surprise, where he's kind of frustrated. But it was just a lucky strike extra for him, and it just was one of the fun little stories that happened. Shot of Cam yelling. Yes, he really stiff-armed kids. Some of the kids were flying, and actually we picked the tamer stuff for the actual commercial, which was funny. That's the camera we used. It's called a Steadicam, and some of you might have used that. I don't know what you guys have available, but it's a totally stable camera that guy runs around with. They use it on Any Given Sunday. That was probably where it gained its most fame. And this just shows that you were able to kind of really get into the action with him. This is the day. I mean, those kids were muddy. They did multiple takes. They were falling in the mud, and they were just covered in it. They gutted through it. The kids were as important as Cam was because they didn't complain, they didn't bitch. It was like a giant practice for them. This is the rig. You can see the 3 stunt women right there. They're about the same size as the kids. And what we did was we shot. You don't see them, but over here there's a crane, and on the other side of the field there's a crane, and then the rope kind of just whips the people backwards. We sped it up in post a little bit to give it a little bit more action, but for the most part it's a stunt. People are getting dragged across the field. It was fun. The last thing in the shoot thing is we had a lot of rain. One of the things that we had to do was we had to purchase a tarp to to cover the entire field. At the end of the shoot, I noticed, I was in the parking lot, and the PAs are all cutting up the tarp, and they're cutting it into exact sections, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, there's like a skid row, like literally like 3 miles away, and they took all these things, and they bundled them up, they took them over there for the people to use as shelters, and I was like, that's really cool. It's like, we had a bad rain day, we had to spend a little extra money, that's not going to waste. I mean, it was a really cool thing that I thought came out of the shoot, and that type of thing doesn't show up in any sort of social media report, but I do think it's cool to think about. So after the shoot, 3 weeks of editorial, this was the result. Play the commercial in case, I'm sure you guys have seen it, but I'll just play it.
That's all right, son. Get right back up. You're all right. Oh, check out that Buick.
Wow, that's nice. But if that's a Buick, then my kid's Cam Newton.
Ready! Damn! Blue 42 set up.
I'm open! Go! No! Yes!
Some people just can't believe the new Buick.
That's a good-looking Buick right there. That's a Buick, and I'm a supermodel.
Nice play, Billy!
Miranda Kerr?
The funny thing about the rep at the end, one take. That's all we had because he split his leg open on the little bench. And we'll scrub through that in a later thing, so. He's a stunt man, that's what they do. It's fine. Okay, so 1 week before the big game, we launched this 60. The one thing we had learned from the year before, where we literally just dropped the 30 on game day, you really need to see these commercials before the game, and that helps in your social media. It helps in your learnings. It helps basically you prep for the day. You kind of know what people are going to be talking about. It also helps build up a lot of views on YouTube so that you do better in overall views. Before and after the game, we were featured on 923 local and national broadcasts. There were countless online stories. This is possibly my favorite headline of the whole bunch. Watch Cam Newton hilariously stiff-arm small children. And then came game day, and I'm going to turn over Mallory. She's in charge of the social media for game day, and it was a whole different deal.
Yeah, so as Steve already alluded to, this was an awesome experience because we actually prepared for this. So we had an entire secondary shoot to gather assets with this in mind. We did not have that in 2016, so it was a learning year over year. So yeah, we had more content planning up front. We basically had a team of people thinking of questions that people could have, thinking of reactions that people could possibly have, and then coming up with responses for that. General Motors is not a small organization. We have to have things approved by lawyers, brand teams, product teams, so being able to do that, more of that in the upfront really helps on the actual day. We do have 2 floors at General Motors dedicated to social listening. These are various pictures of them the day of. Not pictured here is we have a team of 24 care agents, so that's more related to issues people are having with their vehicles sitting behind that team. So it's a very large-scale war room with people responding in real time. We definitely had some warnings from the previous year about just logistics-wise. We needed one person that may be the point of contact for all approval so that we have a creative war room to the side, and then the people actually watching the game, but it could be streamlined a little bit more. So I think we got here.
I'll play this for you.
This is.
When the spot aired, the internet started talking about Buick, basically. And that's kind of what happened.
It's number 14 yard line. Another first down, 4 and 11. Well, Alex Mack was talking about his fibula, how he would
So you can kind of see at the top, these are kind of highlighting what people were talking about at the time, and it would search for all these things, and it was kind of scrubbing them in there. This got even crazier, went on for even longer, but
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
We have a pretty sophisticated suite of social listening. I just use TweetDeck for this because it's the easy and most visual way to see how you're getting mentions in real time. But we did trend on Twitter for almost the entire first half after the spot aired. So these are just social content examples. Year over year, we have learning that we really need an entire bank of assets to react in real time to what people are saying or in-game happening. So the team did a great job of adhering to our best practices and then capturing for that. So we had GIFs, we had boomerangs, we had 6-second videos to put in paid Twitter. So we were thinking about our organic platforms, but then we had a whole paid social strategy that had to be married up with assets as well. More. Team did a great job of...
What's important about this is this was actually posted by our talent in many cases. You have Miranda and Cam, it was important to get them engaged. They have huge followings. You want to basically try to get them to send out stuff and post stuff because it really helps you in terms of trending.
Yeah, and from an awareness perspective, I think that was another learning. We obviously always want the talent to be authentic and share with pieces of content they like, but actually going into the contracts this year, we ensured that we mentioned those things. So Miranda Kerr has a huge following on Snapchat. She was actually snapping live during the game. So we had added exposure on other platforms where Buick, we don't have a Snapchat channel. So we were able to reach audiences that way as well.
This is an example of a GIF that we did. So it's just kind of fun. We have a couple of, this was one of the things that was captured on the alternate set, which we thought, Cam's famous for his Superman thing, so we just did that, which we thought was kind of a cool piece of content.
The really cool thing about these on Twitter with the ad unit is that you can actually take your finger, and I don't know if any of you have played with them before, but they're called scratch rails, so you can basically make the video move in slow motion. So the team had a ton of fun working with the way that the ad units are built and then putting content against them.
And then this is the one that we're going to have lots of fun with. This is the one where... That's the bench he destroyed his Legos. So
we had a lot of comprehensive reports and learnings. This is just an abbreviated version. I didn't want to go into objectives or KPIs for this meeting, but overall we were looking for brand awareness and changing hearts and minds, or what we would say opinion and consideration. So we achieved that. People were talking about us. I think we're second overall in share of voice to Audi, which I think we expected just because they had a topic that a lot of people wanted to talk about. One thing I do want to point out is that we did have highest sentiment of any auto brand. So while Audi did have more mentions, we were seeing more positive comments. People really liked it. These are just two examples of a regular everyday person and a couple influencers mentioning that ours was their favorite.
Oh no. There.
Yeah, so you can see that we have like a spike in game and then Audi had theirs, but overall we were kind of on par and definitely ahead of the other competitors in game. So Steve already mentioned this, but how we respond is just as important as what we post. You guys probably are very aware of this, but our team needed to wrap our heads around what this could look like for Buick. So I mentioned that we did a lot of prep for these, but some of them were done in real time. So this is an example of an easy one, right? It's low-hanging fruit. Positive comment. We have the assets to actually play the gift of his face. This one is actually my favorite. We did this when it aired on, I think this was CBS Sunday on a Wednesday. So this guy said, Buick commercials tend to annoy me, but this one is pretty well done. Okay, thank you, Scott. So we went to Scott's profile and we noticed that he actually had a Jeep as his cover profile, he looked in the age range to know what this movie reference is. So we responded, so you're saying we have a chance at your cover photo? He got the humor of it. It's very clever. I appreciate your response. Keep it up. So it's not just about tackling the people that like your spot. It's also about trying to change people that might be on the border of accepting you as a brand that could be for that. Talent responses, obviously when you have big names like Cameron and Whitaker, you want to leverage them as much as possible. They have a lot of brand affinity themselves, so we had responses to obviously go along with their content as well. So this is kind of the overall highlights. We were ranked number 6 for YouTube Ad Blitz, which is something we measure in-house, and then number 7 ranking in USA Today. We would have liked to be higher, but this was really awesome for us. We made the top 10, so we were proud of that showing. There were 8.5 million impressions that were generated as a result of Twitter. I mentioned we trended. I think we trended again at the end of the game when people were kind of recapping what their favorite spots were. This one, I'm pretty proud. We had the Twitter team come in and kind of do an overarching report from that Wednesday to Sunday, and we were the second most visible automotive, again, to Audi, but we had a lot more positive sentiment, so changing hearts and minds, that's the goal. Do you have anything?
Thank you. Okay. We're here for questions. Oh, yes.
Wondering if we can read this.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. Turn off my glasses.
What movie was referenced with your response to the sensing you got? What was the movie?
So you're saying, we have a chance? So it's something about Mary? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, do you remember that? Jim Carrey said it.
Yeah, so you're saying there's a chance? And she like...
Come on, you're the old man in this, Maria.
Yeah, I'm only 30, and I know that one.
The second was, did you create a Snapchat filter specifically for Miranda to use?
So we didn't. She was just watching the game, and then that's her preferred platform. Obviously, she has a little bit of a stake in it. One thing I didn't mention is that we were part of the Instagram Stories beta. So I don't know if you guys have probably encountered the annoying ads in your Instagram feeds. We were the first automotive, so we had some Raniker content running there from a paid perspective. It was really cool. The team did an awesome job of making it like contextually relevant and felt like the platform. She just wanted to do Snapchat because she has a stake in it.
Under Armour is Cam's supplier, basically, that he has a contract, and we had to use Under Armour, and the beauty of it was, I think they were supposed to, I don't...
Yes, they tweeted it.
They tweeted it.
That was about the extent.
But they also supplied all the uniforms. We dealt with an Under Armour person. We basically gave them, I think, a week to give us all the uniforms. They found all the sizes for the kids. I don't know, I'll take you back. But if you look at the original board, which I actually liked the shot a lot. I wanted that to be the uniforms of what we went with. So we basically just sent them that and said, can you match that? And then they were able to turn it around.
Yeah, they're great partners in general. We do a lot of stuff with them from a promotion standpoint at GM, so they're a good team.
Yes.
You said you spent 3 weeks editing after you shot.
Yes.
Do you ever get a point in those 3 weeks where there's something that you wish you could go back and reshoot, or you do go back and reshoot something?
Every shoot. Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. You go out on a shoot. I'm a very hands-on creative director in terms of the shoot. I'm kind of next to the director most of it, and Eric is great because he allows me to do that. Some directors will actually kick you off the set if you do this, but he's fantastic. I think editorially, so all that I'm doing on the entire shoot is trying to think of what we need for the actual commercial. There are, in the commercial itself, there are probably 4 shots that we came up with on the day that he shot for us that I said, we need this shot, and he said, okay, let's figure out a way to do it. One was the kid going out and doing this. We never got to know, in the original storyboards, if I showed you the original boards that the director did, that shot wasn't in there. We came up with that on the day of. The no, no, no wasn't in the board. That was on the day of. What was the other one? The ref in the end zone. There were quite a few that actually made the cut. The stuff where Cam Newton was belly bumping kids, that was on the day of. That was just him coming up with it. The kid where he's stiff arming kids was on the day of. I had to walk up to Cam during the shoot and I said, you know, can we have it look a little less like you're destroying kids and a little more like you're toying with them. So you're constantly having to kind of look at stuff, assess what you're shooting, and really be able to kind of digest, know what you're going to need in the edit. And that, to be honest with you, I hate to say it, but that just comes with years of experience, and I've been doing this for a few years, so I know exactly what I need in the edit. And when I started in the business, I was working on $10,000 commercials. So if you made a mistake, it was like $10,000. This is a bigger mistake if you're missing a piece. So you really try to not miss anything. Yes.
Regarding this diesel shooting, you said you were shooting simultaneously, or
well,
eventually for the social stuff, did you add extra days shooting?
No. So you have one. We basically negotiated one day for both talent to be on the set at the same time. You had. In that day, you basically try to cram as much stuff as possible. They're getting paid a lot of money. You can't have them come out another day. That day is critical. You don't have another day without spending the equal amount of money. On the one set, we were dedicated just to the commercial. And on the other set, we were shooting all sorts of content of them with the cars, them throwing footballs, all these Instagram, Snapchat, all these different GIFs. A lot of them were shot on the second set. And really what it boiled down to is we wanted to have lots of content to be able to post. There were some things that we had envisioned before the shoot. We actually had a funny little thing where it was we called it Freaky Friday, and we said we wanted Cam and Miranda to be standing next to each other, and then Miranda just kind of turns and says, if that's a Buick, Cam says, if that's a Buick, then I'm a supermodel, and then he turns into Miranda, and then she says, if that's a Buick, then I'm Cam Newton, and then she turns into Cam Newton. So it would have, but then Miranda decided she didn't want his voice on her body, and so we ended up not shooting it, but we grabbed a bunch of other stuff that was equally important.
In total, there were 550 additional social assets. A lot of them we didn't bring to the actual day of the game, but in that picture, the team actually taped up every single asset and then crossed it off the list once we used it. So there was a pretty extensive bank. And some of the formats we used, we shot with the, oh my God, what are they called? The glasses. Spectacles. We shot with those on it. Those didn't make it. You guys shot with a GoPro.
Yeah, we had
a different point of view. There was like a lot of things that we just
we didn't use.
Yeah, we didn't use, but we had so much that it was actually hard to pick, which is great because from the previous year we were very limited. So.
Yeah, we stuck a GoPro on Cam's helmet and we called it Cam. And we had him kind of doing the signals and then pushing kids out of the way, and then he got tackled. And the content never made it out there, but it was still fun to look at. Anything else? Come on. You got something. Go ahead.
Was your primary platform Twitter, or did you engage on Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that?
That's a great question. We posted all this stuff across all platforms. The celebrity talent had the platforms that they liked a little better, so we let them play in those spaces. And then for real time, the day of, we mostly focused on Twitter. The paid plan was pretty comprehensive. It had Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the whole gamut. But yeah, we decided to focus. Twitter still has a cachet for real-time conversation, so that's where we focus day of.
Someone back there.
How much did it cost?
What?
Total, for the stars, for the TV football?
Well, I don't think I'm not allowed to tell you that. I'm not allowed to disclose contracts. It's a lot. I mean, well, here's the deal. The commercials. So the other funny story, and not really funny, but so originally when we were decided to go on the Super Bowl, we bought a 30-second commercial, and those cost $4.5 million. After many people saw the 60-second commercial, they decided to like that better. So they decided to spend another $4.5 million to actually run the 60 on the game, and luckily we were able to find some time on the game. So do the math on that. That's a $9 million investment just to get in the game. And it's a celebrity. They're expensive. The shoot itself is expensive because you're dealing with a stunt. You're dealing with multiple people. It's lots of talent, lots of wardrobe. It's not cheap, but I really can't tell you how much it costs exactly. Suffice it to say, it's in the millions.
On that, do you have to fly out like teams like what they call release and the wardrobe, or did you hire those people in LA?
We hire. You shoot in LA because all the talent is there. The people we had to fly in, we flew some talent in from New York because we did a dual casting in New York and LA just because you get some different people, some different looks out of New York. We had to fly in Cam, obviously, and I can't remember if Miranda, I think she had a place in LA that she was staying at, so I think she didn't have to fly.
Miranda brought her own stylist.
Yeah, they come with their own things, but all those people are usually in LA. Cam was pretty low key. He was pretty particular about his wardrobe. He likes to wear no socks with his pants and floods. Like that was his look. But we were at the wardrobe thing. They had a bunch of things laid out, and then he's like, I like that, I like that, I like that. And then he picked out some shoes and he bought them himself. It's fun. It's like, I gotta tell you, shooting commercials with celebrities is a little surreal at times because you're kind of looking at him going, am I really here? And I'm not one to get awestruck. He's obviously a huge man. His calves are probably the biggest things I've ever seen. But he's super cool. I mean, I've shot with a lot of celebs. I shot with Shaq, I shot with Peyton Manning, Ving Rhames, a bunch of people. So, and he was by far one of the better ones. Shaq was good too. Shaq was funny.
Yeah, question there.
Oh, hello.
Were they your first choice of
Him and Miranda?
Yeah.
The original board actually had Tom Brady. He was a little bit more, he was more recognizable, kind of more nationally recognized. Tom came with some problems in terms of shooting. He was in the hunt for the Super Bowl at the time we were shooting and had some travel problems. So we looked at Tom, we looked at Cam, Aaron Rodgers. We felt like he was a little too saturated into the I think the insurance company does. I think I can't remember. State Farm, is it? Yeah. The discount double check. So we just felt like we would get a lot of brand misappropriation if we went with him.
We're really happy where we netted out.
Yeah, like I said, he was enormous, which really played well with the kids, and super personable.
Miranda was great too.
So the formula of attracting an audience, you had a celebrity that was football, you had a celebrity supermodel, you had cute kids. So did you track the different demographics and how they responded?
I don't think we did. I mean, maybe we did.
And so, like from a digital perspective, we can measure some of that, like the sentiment among groups. We obviously don't know, we didn't do any brand lift studies like from a broadcast perspective, but yes, thinking went into the different targeting that we were using, and we were targeting them with different portions of the ad that would attract them, if that makes sense. So someone might know who Miranda Kerr is, but they don't know who Cam Newton is. Guilty. Me? Yeah, me too. So, I'm not, don't follow football that much. I should have known who he was.
Yeah, there was also another model we looked at, Carly Kloss. Does anyone know her? She had done a Vogue shoot with Cam prior to that, so they knew each other, and we looked at her as well, but Miranda became our first choice, because I think she was a little bit more recognizable to the people that we were presenting to. When it was Tom Brady, they talked about Giselle, and that would have been a $20 million commercial. Yes, sir.
Just curious about use your campaign to kind of go to someone younger in the crowd for you. How do you balance that with like not alienating older crowds?
We've already got the older crowd, so I think it is important to not alienate from the standpoint of you don't want to, like I said, you don't really want to. It's a balancing act with the Buick is for old people kind of sentiment. We played around in that world for the past 2 years. How direct we go at that kind of misperception, or do we kind of dance around it? And a lot of times we test these things to see what buttons push us too far, to be honest with you. There's no secret formula to creative. There's no, like, it's a math problem that doesn't have a solution, basically. It's got multiple solutions. So I think that I still think it's important to kind of touch on that with Buick, because I still think it's a perception. But to be honest with you, the perception is with people my age. I mean, the 40 to 50-year-olds they're the ones that think Buick is for old people. Most of you probably have no perception of Buick whatsoever. You have no preconceived notion. We're not even on your radar. But after this day, I know you're all going to run out and buy one. But I think it's just, I don't know, it's something we talk about all the time. It's something we play around with. And we're definitely trying to balance it.
And we saw some of that from like a targeting, like with our media buys, from a targeting perspective, we're able to match the creative to the audience that we're going after. And Buick has humor, which is awesome, because so we have a little bit of self-deprecating humor, so we can have fun in that space. So we will respond to people on Twitter who say Buick is for old people, or do they still exist? We're still here. Sorry, it was past our bedtime. So, like, you know, we can have fun and play with that space a little bit.
We tend to not do humor that is mean-spirited. We're trying to be a little bit more positive in the humor that we do. You know, comedy, you always have to have a little bit of a butt to the joke, but I think we try to make it not too offensive.
Did you do any concept testing ahead of time, focus groups or whatever?
We did focus groups on this, and I think it was 2 or 3 other concepts. And this one had it was not just the focus groups, but I think it had a lot of internal love. There was another concept that performed pretty well that involved celebrities, but that was going to cost even more money, I think. So in the end, I think this one just, the contextual nature of being on the Super Bowl, I think, was really one of the big things that they wanted to stick with. They felt like, and I got to agree, I think it just, you have a crowd that is watching a football game. It's not a bad thing to have something that's a little bit football-based. And I think for Buick, it was just, to be honest with you, we were just trying to have a little fun. You learn a little bit of something about the brand and have a good time. Yes. Let the kids speak.
Why did you start the initial plan
The campaign was fun.
the entire campaign?
The entire campaign happened, I think it was 3 years ago. like that initial spot that we call it, that was about 3 years ago, and it's just kind of, it was a spot that we just had. We were trying to accept, we didn't have any new products that were coming out, and we were trying to get a little excitement about Buick, but we just had all these older products that had already been out for a couple of years or a year. And to be honest with you, we sold a spot, we went out, we shot a bunch of stuff, and came back and just got lucky. I mean, it's a bit of an educated guess. I mean, I don't think anyone who was involved with that original spot thought it was going to have the momentum or catch on as much as it did. And some of that is just, it just struck a chord. We were kind of making fun of ourselves a little bit, especially with the old lady. And it just, for some reason, I mean, I travel a lot, so I'm in the airport parking lot. And so they always say, hey, what kind of car are you driving? Oh, I drive that Buick over there. And then half the time there's someone in there, that's not a Buick. Someone on the bus says that. So I know it's kind of ingrained itself in pop culture a little bit. And you can't predict that. That's luck. So
how long did you have to plan for the Super Bowl spot?
That was, we got the brief, when was it, November? I think November, and then we had like 3 weeks to come up with spots. We had been talking about it for 6 months, but we got a brief in November. And then we had 3 weeks to come up with stuff, we showed stuff, and then we shot in January. So it was a total of about 2 months total.
You said you had 8 teams working on ideas at a time, so the team that got their idea chosen, you get the Buicks, or do they get some sort of, sometimes pass on that.
To be honest with you, the spot was a bit of a, it was a group effort in this one. There was a team that came in and they had this thing, they had a kind of a structure that we liked, and it was, if that's a Buick, then I'm Milli Vanilli. And then they turn into Milli Vanilli. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. Let's play with that. And then I was on the phone with one of them, and I'm like, listen, we got to do something contextual. Is there a way to do something contextual with this? And I said, like in a Pee Wee football game. And then next thing you know, we're kind of going back and forth talking about it. So it was a bit of a group effort. And not all spots are like that. Some spots you just see and you're like, that's it, and you move on. Others are collaborative. This one was more collaborative. We also had 10 other ideas that were, if that's Buick, then I'm the Tooth Fairy. We had lots of other things we could have shot, but we ended up with this one. And 8 teams, it quickly whittled down to 2 after the first meeting, just because we didn't have enough time to have 8 teams working on it. It's a big project though. People want to have a shot. You want to give people a shot. Yep.
So how many people were working on it from your agency? Like how many people were in the teams, and how many people were in the 2 that got chosen?
So the spot that got chosen, you have one creative team in the back of one of their heads right there. And then you have myself, my partner Tim Thomas, and then this guy named Chris Handyside is kind of one of our creative directors that works on the digital stuff. So myself, Tim Thomas, work with Chris and kind of filter all the work, basically. They were, so 5 were on the shoot, creative people. And each team has 2 people. So when I say 8 teams, that's probably 16 people. For stuff like this, you just do an agency brief. You literally just are like, anyone want to work on the Super Bowl? And then you're getting ideas from like people you've never heard of before. And you look at them, and sometimes they're good, and sometimes they're bad, and you just try to focus on the good ones.
There's no bad ideas.
We don't present bad ideas.
Basically, what happens to the rest of the creators and says, like, who is the accountants today? Like, what do you do with them?
What do you mean? Oh, they're all on staff. I mean, these are staff people. I mean, we didn't hire any freelancers for this particular project. You work with the people that are within your agency. You have, on a project like this, you might somebody might work on a different brand, like we've got some people with that certified service at our place, so you're saying, hey, you want to work on it? Cool. It's an open brief.
That you can say, okay, now it's not going to work.
We count, every project I tend to count on 2 teams. Like those are the teams I'm looking at going, those are the ones that I hope will come up with it. Unfortunately, one of those for years was myself and my partner, so we had to look in the mirror a lot. But I think that the rest of them are Lucky Strike Extras. This team is actually a Lucky Strike Extras because they were on a different brand. They're technically assigned to GMC.